Northwestern feels like a program that just has not been right since the end of the Pat Fitzgerald era when they went 4-20 his last couple of seasons. So they went to big heights there. They went to obviously the Big Ten championship game, which is a big deal at Northwestern. But this is a program that just has not been back to that level of play since then. The Big Ten has obviously since expanded. They've added Oregon, they've added Washington, they've added USC and UCLA, and things are different now in the Big Ten. And it's a little bit of a larger hurdle to overcome, it feels like. This is a team that was 7-6 last year and 4-5 in the Big Ten, and has brought in a well-known offensive coordinator and a quarterback that's well-known to Big Ten country. So there's a lot to talk about today as we break down Northwestern for the 2026 college football season. Guys, you're listening to the You Think You Know Sports podcast. You can find us just about anywhere that you can find podcasts. We appreciate you finding us for this episode. We're trying to get through the entire country, get through every single team in the nation this offseason. This all started with a TikTok page by the same name, You Think You Know Sports, that has over 10,000 followers. We've branched out to other social medias too, and there's also youthinkyouknowsports.com where you can get a lot more information on Northwestern and all the other teams that we break down. That offensive coordinator I mentioned that's come over, none other than Chip Kelly. Yes, that Chip Kelly, the guy who was the head coach at Oregon when Oregon kind of started the beginnings of this run where they've been just around the national picture for years and years and years. Obviously, things have changed a lot now with Dan Lanning there, and Chip Kelly went on to coach the Eagles, and he's been a couple different places. But he's the new offensive coordinator on a team that averaged just under 22 points per game. That was number 99 in the country last year, and 104 yards per game. 331 yards per game, number 104 in the country. So this is an offense that really has to get going. Now, the head coach is David Braun. He's 19-19 at Northwestern. He's entering year 4. He's got the same 500 record that Matt Rule has at Nebraska. So it's interesting how people may not consider them in the same area when they talk about coaching. But obviously, if you're doing it at Northwestern as opposed to Nebraska, I found that interesting just doing those teams back to back. Aiden Chiles has come over at quarterback. Yeah, Aiden Chiles, who was at Michigan State last year. He has 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions in his collegiate career. Last year he was banged up. He had a concussion. He had foot injuries. I love looking at deep ball passes for a quarterback. That's one of my favorite things to look at. And he was 10 of 33 on deep balls, 30%, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and no interceptions on those. But you'd love to hit a few more of those big play opportunities. 71% completion percentage in a clean pocket, though. That's huge. Remember that. It went to 38% under pressure. You'd love to see that higher. Could you get that into the 40s? He also ran 81 times for 227 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's got a little bit around him. Not as much as you'd like, all right, coming back. Caleb Kamalafe is back at running back. 941 yards, 11 touchdowns. Joseph Hyman's also back. They've also got a guy from Florida State who's come over who is going to play some running back as well. Griffin Wild at receiver, 71 catches, 880 yards, 8 touchdowns last year. He is back. He was number 29 in the country in receiving yards per game. I don't remember, and maybe there was one recently and I'm just forgetting it, but Northwestern had a receiver in the top 30 in receiving yards per game. Let's see if he can do even more this year. They've also got another guy back in the receiving corps, Hayden Elegon, who is back after a 37-catch season as well. So, listen, there are definitely some options here for the quarterback, for Chiles, and I think that's a good thing. Where do the issues start? I think they start with the offensive line. They've only got one offensive lineman back on this team. They've had to rework the O-line. They did bring in a guy, Grant Segrin, who's come over from Oklahoma State. We will see if he is able to make a big difference on the O-line or if they're going to end up going somewhere else. It looks like he will probably be the left tackle for the Wildcats this year. They've also got back 5 guys on defense. Michael Kilbane had 7.5 tackles for loss last year. Brandon Flake started every game last year for this Northwestern defense is back. Brendan Flake, is also back. And then Kobe McKenzie is a grad transfer from Oklahoma who has come over to help out this team as well and should be a big difference maker after playing on a playoff team last year for the Sooners. The schedule certainly leads itself to a lot of difficulty. They open with South Dakota State and Colorado, who both come to Northwestern to play. They have both got to come to Ryan Field and play football games this year in Evanston. But then after that, they play the defending national champions at their place. You got to go to Bloomington and play Kurt Signetti and the new look Hoosiers on September 26th. October 3rd, they host Penn State, and then October 10th, they host Ball State. So 4 of their first 5 are at home, with the one big exception being Indiana and having to play at their place. Michigan State in East Lansing, October 17th, and they host Rutgers on the 24th of October. On Halloween, they'll be in Eugene, Oregon to play the Ducks, who could be a number 1 team in the country. They host Iowa, then they go to Ohio State November 14th, to Minnesota November 21st, and they host Illinois to end the year on November 28th. So if you were listening closely, or if you have the Northwestern schedule nearby, you know that they play at Indiana, at Oregon, and at Ohio State this year. They are the only team in the Big Ten that has to do that. That is bad news. Nobody wants to do that. And I think it really adds to the importance of those other 4 early games that are at home. You know, Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes coming to play in Evanston. Penn State with a new roster. I'm calling them Iowa State Junior or B, just kind of as a joke because they brought Matt Campbell in as head coach and feels like half of the Cyclones roster, including the quarterback and Rocco Becht. Ball State, obviously South Dakota State was the opener. Rutgers, Iowa, those are other teams that come to Northwestern Illinois as well. You would think you could be very competitive and win in East Lansing and beat Michigan State as well. So, I think Chip Kelly hopefully will bring some life to an offense that really needs it. Aiden Chiles brings experience. There's not going to be a whole lot that Aiden Chiles hasn't seen in the Big Ten, right? That's going to be a good thing for Northwestern. He's familiar with the territory. He knows what he's getting himself into. The running back, Kamalafe, coming back, I think is big. And then the defense, it was okay last year. The defense was not really the worst part of this team, but they've got to get better against the pass. Can they be really competitive in games where Julian Sayin and Dante Moore, who are coming back at Oregon and Ohio State, you're going to their place. Can you keep your team in the game with dealing with 2 of the best passers in college football, dealing with Jeremiah Smith and those Oregon Ducks wide receivers? That seems like a tall order, but this is college football, man. Upsets happen every single week, so you never know. Guys, I would love to hear what your thoughts are on Northwestern for this year. Again, 7-6 last year, 4-5 in the Big Ten. Is this a team that has gotten better? Are they going to be more competitive under David Braun and with Kelly at offensive coordinator and Chiles at quarterback? Or is the schedule with those 3 massive road games just going to be too much for this team to overcome? Hit me up on whatever social media you listen to me on. I'd love to get your opinion on the Cats. There's a video up already on Northwestern, about to get a blog post up on youthinkyouknowsports.com. I hope you'll check out the next podcast. We're going to get into Ohio State as we continue going in order. The next 3 are all really interesting: Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. So, guys, hope to see you there. Appreciate you listening.